Hey dreamer, welcome back. It's so good to have you here. Before we begin, let's get you settled in. Find a comfortable position, let your body sink into the mattress, and take one slow, deep breath in and let it all go. Tonight, we're going to a quiet French village. So close your eyes, let go of the day, and let's drift into the story together. You arrive on foot, though you don't quite remember how the walking began. The lane simply continues beneath your steps, as lanes in old places sometimes do, narrow and unhurried, curving between low walls of pale gray stone that have settled into the earth over a great many years. The stones are warm where the early light touches them, and cool where the mist still lingers. And you can feel both at once if you let your hand trail along the top as you pass. It is just after sunrise. The sky overhead is the color of the inside of a seashell, that soft, uncertain blush between night and morning, when the world has not quite decided whether to be silver or gold. A few clouds drift there, but slowly, the way thoughts drift when you are nearly asleep, without arriving anywhere in particular. You look up at them for a long, quiet moment, and the looking itself seems to soften something in your shoulders, in your breath, in the small space behind your eyes. The lane bends gently to the left. You follow it without effort. The earth beneath your feet is packed soft from years of footsteps, dusted here and there with a fine pale chalk. And where the grass grows up between the wheel ruts, it is still beaded with dew. Each blade holds its own small, perfect drop, and when the breeze moves through them, the drops tremble but do not fall. You notice this in passing. You notice it the way one notices a kindness, without needing to keep it, only to know it was there. On either side of the lane, fields open outward into the mist. You cannot see the far edges of them. The mist hangs low and pearl-colored, a tender hush rising from the cool ground, gathering in the hollows, drifting around the hedgerows in long, slow ribbons. Somewhere within it, you sense the shapes of things. A leaning fence post, the curve of a sleeping hill, the suggestion of a single elm tree standing patient in the field. But the mist softens all their edges, and you let your eyes rest on the softness without trying to make it sharper. There is no need. The fields are not asking to be seen clearly. They are only there, breathing slowly with you. The air smells faintly of damp grass. It smells also of wood smoke, very far away, the kind of wood smoke that comes from a small hearth still tending the embers of the night. It smells of wet stone and of something sweeter beneath, perhaps the last of summer's wild fennel, or perhaps only the morning itself, which has its own gentle fragrance when it has not yet been disturbed. You breathe it in. You breathe it out. The breath is unhurried. The lane is unhurried. There is nowhere you must be, and no part of you that needs to arrive sooner than it will. Somewhere ahead, a bird calls once. It is a soft, round note. Not a song, only a small announcement, as though the bird is letting the world know it has woken and intends, in a little while, to begin its day. You listen for an answer, but none comes, and the silence that follows is gentler than the silence before. You go on walking. The low stone walls beside you are crowned with moss in places, and in other places with tufts of dry, golden grass. And here and there, a small, bright flower has rooted itself between the stones. A forget-me-not, perhaps, or a star of wild chamomile, and made a quiet home there. You pause once to look at one of these flowers. Its petals are still folded loosely, not yet ready for the sun. Its small face turns very slightly toward the warmth, the way a sleeping cheek turns toward a window. You smile, or something inside you smiles, and you walk on. The lane rises a little. It is the gentlest of slopes, hardly a slope at all, and yet at the top of it, the mist thins for a moment, and there, ahead of you, the village appears. You stop without meaning to. It sits in a shallow green basin, perhaps half a mile away, cradled by hills so soft they seem more like long, sleeping shoulders than hills. The rooftops are slate and terracotta. Slate in some places, warm rosy tile in others, and a few thatched among them, mounded like loaves. The colors are muted by the mist, deepened by it, made to feel old and beloved at once. A church tower rises at the village's heart, modest and gray, its weather vane catching one small fleck of the new sun. From somewhere among the rooftops, a single thread of smoke rises straight up and then loses itself in the paler gray above. Nothing else moves. The village is still mostly asleep. You stand there for a long, quiet moment, simply looking. And in that looking, there is no urgency, no anticipation. You are not waiting for the village to wake. You are not hurrying down to meet it. You are only here, on this small rise in the lane, with the mist drifting around your ankles and the sky lightening behind you, and the village in its basin breathing slowly, the way you are breathing slowly. After a while, you begin to walk again. The slope eases. The lane straightens. You pass a wooden gate set into the stone wall, weathered to silver, hanging slightly open on its hinges. Beyond it, a small orchard sleeps, apple trees mostly, their branches still dark with night, their leaves heavy and quiet. A single pale apple has fallen onto the grass beneath one of them. You see it as you pass. You do not stop. You simply carry the image with you for a few steps, the apple round and pale on the dark green grass, and then you let it go, and the lane carries you onward. The mist begins, very gradually, to lift. It does not rise all at once, the way fog sometimes burns away in stories. It only thins, gentles, becomes more transparent, so that the hedgerows on either side of the lane begin to show themselves more fully. The tangled hawthorn, the late blackberry brambles with their dark, soft fruit, a curl of bindweed wearing its small white trumpet flowers. A spider has spun a web between two stems, and the web is heavy with dew, and the dew is heavy with light, and the whole thing trembles when a moth, somewhere unseen, brushes a leaf nearby. You walk on. Your footsteps make a soft sound on the chalk-dusted earth, not loud enough to disturb anything, loud enough only to remind you, in a comforting way, that you are walking, that your body is moving gently through this morning, that each step is its own small arrival. The lane bends again, more deeply this time, around the shoulder of a low hill. When you round the bend, the village is closer. You can see the first of its outlying houses now, a small stone cottage set back from the lane, its shutters painted a faded blue, its garden enclosed by another of those low walls. A hen is somewhere behind the cottage, murmuring to herself in that contented, half-conversational way hens have. The sound is small. It is companionable. It does not require anything of you. Beside the cottage door, a wooden bench leans against the wall. It looks as though many people have sat there, over many years, watching the lane and the fields and the slow turning of seasons. You imagine, just for a moment, that you might sit there too one day. Not now. Now you are still walking. But the thought of the bench, the soft thought of it, settles somewhere warm inside you, and you carry it onward like the image of the apple. The lane is leveling now. You can feel it leveling, the way the body feels when it stops climbing and begins to rest. The mist is almost gone, though a low veil of it still hangs over the deeper fields to your right, where the river must run, hidden for now beneath its quiet white blanket. You will find the river later. Not now. Now there is only the lane and the village ahead, and the soft hush of the morning gathering itself around you. A second bird calls. This one is farther away, somewhere among the rooftops, and its note is longer, lower, like a small wooden flute. You listen until it ends. You listen too to the silence that follows, which is not really silence. It is the breath of the fields, the murmur of the unseen river, the faint creak of a shutter somewhere in the village, the small private sounds of a place that is just beginning to stir. You are very close to the first houses now. The lane narrows here and becomes a kind of soft, worn path between two stone walls, and the walls lean inward just slightly, as though gathering you in. Ivy climbs them in dark, patient ribbons. A wild rose, late blooming, has pushed one pale pink blossom out between the stones. You pass beneath it, and a single petal, perhaps loosened by the morning's small breeze, falls and turns once in the air and settles silently on the path behind you. You do not look back. There is no need. The petal is where it should be. You are where you should be. The village is ahead. The lane is beneath. The sky is widening into a pale, tender blue above you. And somewhere, quite close now, the smell of bread is beginning, very faintly, to find its way through the morning air. You breathe it in. You breathe out. The lane carries you gently on. The lane releases you gently into the square. You feel it happen before you see it, the way the path beneath your feet changes from soft chalk to old, uneven cobblestones, each stone worn smooth by generations of feet and hooves and slow wooden wheels. The cobbles are still cool from the night. They are pale gray where the early light touches them, and a deeper mossy gray in the small seams between, where rain has gathered and dried and gathered again over a great many quiet seasons. You step into the square. It is small, smaller than you might have expected, and round in shape, or nearly round, the way old village squares are when they have grown slowly over centuries, rather than being drawn by anyone in particular. Houses lean inward around it on every side, 3 stories at the tallest, their plaster faces washed in colors that have softened with time. A pale rose here, a faded ochre there, a chalky cream beside a gentle, dusty blue. The colors do not match. They were never meant to match, and yet they belong together, the way pebbles on a beach belong together, each one its own quiet shade of the same patient morning. At the center of the square stands a stone fountain. You notice it first by sound, before your eyes quite settle on it. A low, continuous murmur, the soft and steady speech of water falling into water, of water moving over the curved lip of an old basin and gathering again below. It is not loud. It is the kind of sound that does not so much fill the air as deepen it, the way a candle does not so much brighten a room as soften every shadow in it. You walk toward the fountain without hurrying. The fountain is made of pale stone, weathered to a creamy gray, and its basin is round and shallow and slightly lopsided, as though the earth beneath it has shifted, very gently, over the years. At its center rises a worn column with a carved figure at the top, perhaps a small lion, perhaps only a shape that was once a lion and has been softened by rain into something kinder. Water spills from somewhere within the column in 4 slow, glittering threads, each thread catching the new light, each one falling into the basin with a small and contented sound. You stop beside it. You rest your hand on the cool stone rim. The stone is gentle beneath your palm. It has been touched in this exact place by a great many hands before yours. You can feel it in the smoothness, in the slight worn dip where palms have rested. A small leaf floats in the basin, a single curled willow leaf, golden at its edges, and it turns very slowly in the water, around and around, in a circle so soft and patient that it seems less like motion and more like meditation. You watch the leaf turn. You watch it for longer than you mean to, and the watching loosens something in you that you did not know was held. Your breath finds a deeper rhythm. Your shoulders settle. The sound of the water is a kind of conversation that asks nothing of you and offers everything. A here, a now, a small and faithful music that has been playing in this square long before you arrived and will go on playing long after you have walked away. After a while, you look up. The square is just beginning to wake. Across from the fountain, the door of a small bakery stands ajar, and a warm yellow light spills out from behind a lace curtain. The window glows with the soft, butter-colored light of an oven somewhere within, and the lace itself is the color of old paper, hung in a pattern of tiny flowers that you can almost see if you let your gaze rest on it. You cannot see the baker. You can only see the suggestion of movement behind the curtain, a slow passing shape, a calm and unhurried presence, the kind of figure who has been making bread in this same small room since long before the morning learned its own name. The smell of the bread has not quite reached you yet. It will. You can sense it preparing itself, gathering at the edge of the air, the faintest warmth of yeast and crust, and something deeper, something almost like the smell of a fire that has been carefully tended through the night. But it is still only a promise, and you let it remain a promise, the way you might let a song stay in its first soft notes without rushing toward the chorus. To the left of the bakery, a striped cat sits on a windowsill. The cat is gray and cream, with a soft, round face and half-closed eyes, and she is watching the square with the deep, patient attention that only cats and very old people seem to possess. Her tail curls neatly around her paws. Her ears turn, very slightly, toward the sound of the fountain. She does not look at you, but you have the gentle sense that she knows you are there, and that she has approved of your arrival in the small, dignified way that cats sometimes approve of things. You smile at her, or something in you smiles. She blinks, slowly, and looks away. Above her windowsill, the shutters of the upstairs window are still closed. They are painted a soft green, like the inside of a young leaf, and the paint is peeling in places, showing the gentle silver of old wood beneath. A small wooden flower box sits beneath the shutters, and in it, 3 geraniums are still folded in upon themselves. their pink blossoms tucked closed against the morning, their leaves heavy with last night's dew. A door opens somewhere to your right. You turn your head without quickening, and you see, at the edge of the square, an old woman stepping out into the morning with a wicker basket on her arm. She is wrapped in a long gray shawl, and she carries herself with that slow, unhurried dignity of someone who has done this same small morning errand for more years than she could easily count. She does not see you, or perhaps she does, and only chooses, kindly, not to interrupt your standing here. She turns down a narrow side street and is gone, and the small click of her wooden heels on the cobbles fades like the last note of a lullaby. The square is quiet again, but the quiet is changing now. You can feel it changing. It is not the deep, mist-held quiet of the lane outside the village. It is a softer, more populated quiet, a quiet made of many small sounds. The patient music of the fountain, the distant murmur of the hen you heard earlier, somewhere behind the cottages, the gentle creak of a shutter being opened on an upper floor across the square. Each sound is small, each sound is unhurried, and together they weave themselves into the morning the way threads weave themselves into a quilt, gently, without effort, each one finding its place. You hear now the soft swish of a broom. It comes from somewhere out of sight, perhaps the courtyard behind the bakery, perhaps the steps of the small church whose pale tower you can see lifting above the rooftops to the east. It is the sound of someone sweeping yesterday's small leaves and dust into a tidy pile, in no particular hurry, with the steady, patient rhythm of a person who has swept this same place 1,000 mornings, and will sweep it 1,000 mornings more. The broom is bristly and soft at once. The cobbles answer it with a low, contented rasp. You do not need to see the sweeper to feel the comfort of the sweeping. You let your gaze drift, slowly, around the square. You notice the painted signs above the doors, a wooden loaf swinging on a small iron bracket above the bakery, a faded blue boot above another door, a sun with a kind, rounded face above what might be a small inn whose shutters are still closed for the night. You notice the iron rings set into the walls, where horses must once have been tied. You notice the worn step of a stone threshold, hollowed gently in the middle by the passage of many feet, and the slow gray lichen on the corner of a window ledge, and the small chip of pale plaster fallen onto the cobbles below it, where a bird, perhaps, has been working at a tiny crack to build a nest. You notice all of these things without trying. They simply arrive in you, one by one, the way snowflakes arrive on an outstretched hand, soft and singular and easily welcomed. You do not have to remember them. You do not have to keep them. They are only here, with you, in this gentle morning, and that is enough. The sound of the fountain steadies you. You return your eyes to it, to the 4 slow, glittering threads of water, to the willow leaf still turning its quiet circle in the basin. You watch it complete one more turn, and then another. And in the watching you feel, somewhere beneath your thoughts, a deep and easy permission to be exactly here, exactly now, with nothing to do and nowhere to go, and no part of yourself that must be anything other than what it already is. A small breeze moves through the square. It comes from the east, where the sun is climbing, and it carries with it, at last, the first true breath of the bakery, warm and yeasty and tender, threaded through with something deeper, something almost like vanilla, almost like the slow caramel of a crust just turning gold. The smell drifts across the cobbles and finds you, and folds itself, very gently, around your shoulders, the way a familiar shawl folds around a person at the end of a long, kind day. You breathe it in. You hold it for a moment, somewhere behind your heart. You breathe it out. The cat blinks again on her sill. The fountain murmurs on. Somewhere above, the green shutters of an upstairs window are pushed open by an unseen hand, and the small wooden flower box catches the light, and the dewy geraniums begin, very slowly, to stir. The square is waking, the way villages wake in dreams, gently, without urgency, each small thing arriving in its own quiet time. And you are here for it. You are here, with your hand still resting on the cool stone of the fountain, with the smell of the bread settling around you, with the morning unfolding in soft, patient layers across the cobblestones. There is nowhere you must be. There is no part of you that needs to hurry. There is only the square, and the water, and the slow, soft turning of a leaf in a basin, around and around, in the small and faithful music of a morning that has all the time in the world. You stand a little longer. You breathe. The village breathes with you. You let your hand fall, at last, from the cool stone of the fountain. The leaf in the basin is still turning, around and around, in its slow and patient circle, and the water is still murmuring its low, contented music. You leave them there. You leave them the way one leaves a sleeping animal, with a kind of soft reverence, knowing they will go on being exactly themselves whether you are watching or not. There is something deeply restful in that knowing. The fountain does not need you. The leaf does not need you. They are only here, faithfully, and that faithfulness asks nothing of you in return. You turn gently toward the bakery. It is only a few steps across the cobbles, and you take them slowly, feeling the smooth stones beneath your feet, feeling the morning settle a little deeper into the square behind you. The warm yellow light from the bakery window grows kinder as you approach. The lace curtain stirs once, very slightly, in the small breeze of your arrival, and then is still. A wooden sign hangs above the door. It is the small carved loaf you noticed earlier from across the square, suspended from an iron bracket worn black with age. The loaf has been painted, long ago, in a warm honey color, and although the paint has softened and faded with many seasons of rain, the shape is still tender and unmistakable. A round, plump loaf, with a single careful slash across its top, the way a baker scores a fresh boule before sliding it into the oven. The sign turns, very slowly, on its bracket. You watch it turn. It makes the smallest creak as it moves, the kind of creak that is not a complaint, but a greeting. You step beneath it. The threshold is a slab of pale stone, hollowed gently in the middle by a great many feet over a great many years. And as you step across it, the smell of the bakery folds around you all at once. It is the smell of bread. But to call it only that would be to call a sunrise only color, or a lullaby only sound. It is the smell of flour and warmth and slow, patient yeast. It is the smell of butter melting somewhere on a cooling crust, and of sugar caramelizing very softly at the edge of a pan. It is the smell of wood smoke from a brick oven that has been tended through the night, and of something darker and sweeter beneath, perhaps honey, perhaps a small handful of dried fruit, perhaps only the memory of every loaf that has been baked in this room for longer than anyone can quite remember. You stand in the doorway and let the smell hold you for a moment. It holds you the way warm water holds a body in a deep bath, without effort, without expectation, with only a kind of gentle, encompassing welcome. Your shoulders ease. Your breath finds its slow rhythm again. The fountain, the cobbles, the cat on her windowsill. They have all become very far away now, though they are only a few steps behind you. The bakery is its own small world, and you have stepped softly into it. You step a little further in. The room is small and low-beamed, and warmer than the morning outside. The ceiling is dark wood, smoke-stained to a deep amber color, and the beams are crossed and crossed again above your head, hung here and there with bundles of dried herbs, rosemary perhaps, and thyme, and a long pale braid of what looks like wild lavender. The walls are pale plaster, washed in a soft cream, and they have settled gently with the seasons, lined here and there with the fine, almost invisible cracks of an old building that has done its breathing for centuries and intends to keep on breathing for centuries more. Along one wall, a long wooden counter stretches. The counter is scarred with the kind of marks that wood acquires only over many lifetimes. Small nicks from knives, faint pale rings where bowls have rested, a long smooth groove where a baker's elbow has leaned, day after day, into the patient work of kneading. The wood has been oiled and polished by countless cloths until it glows with a deep, soft honey color. The same color, you notice, as the painted loaf on the sign outside. The bakery has its own quiet palate. Everything here belongs to itself. And on the counter, the bread is cooling. You see it now, fully, for the first time. Wooden racks have been set along the counter's length, and on the racks, the loaves rest in their orderly, unhurried rows. There are round country boules with their crusts split into soft, golden petals, where the oven's heat has bloomed them. There are long, slim baguettes with crackled crusts, leaning gently against each other like tired companions. There are smaller rolls, plump and round as sleeping kittens, with little curls of poppy seed or sesame across their tops. There is a single dark loaf, almost black, dusted with flour, that smells of rye and molasses. And at the end of the counter, a slow row of small pastries, folded and twisted and curled, each one glazed to a delicate amber, each one settling gently into its own warm, buttery shape. You do not reach for any of them. There is no need. The looking is enough. The looking is its own quiet meal. Your eyes move across the loaves the way a hand might move across the back of a sleeping animal, gently, without disturbing anything. And each loaf, in turn, offers you its small and faithful warmth. Behind the counter, the baker is there. He is an older man, broad-shouldered and gently stooped, with white hair cropped close and a pale apron dusted with flour to the elbows. His face is calm. His hands are large, and they move with the quiet certainty of hands that have done the same work for so long that the work has become a kind of breathing. He is shaping something now, perhaps another small loaf, perhaps only folding a length of dough back upon itself in the slow rhythm of his craft. And he does not look up as you enter. Or rather, he looks up only briefly, with a soft, neutral kindness, the way a deep pond receives a falling leaf. He nods once. He says nothing. And then his eyes return, untroubled, to the work in his hands. You are glad of his silence. You stand at the counter for a long, quiet moment, and you let the warmth of the bakery settle into your bones. You let the smell of the bread settle into your breath. You let the soft, rhythmic sound of the baker's hands, the gentle slap of dough against wood, the small whisper of flour falling between his fingers, become a kind of music that asks nothing of you and offers everything. After a while, he reaches behind him. He takes from a smaller rack a single roll, plump and pale and still warm, and he sets it on a square of waxed paper, and he folds the paper around it with the same patient hands. He slides it across the counter toward you. He does not name a price. He does not say a word. He only nods once, again, with that same soft and untroubled kindness. And you understand, somehow, that this is simply how mornings go in this bakery, and that you are not the first to have received such a gift, and that you will not be the last. You take it. The roll is warm through the paper. You can feel its heat in your palm, and the gentle weight of it, and the small, soft give of its crust beneath the paper's surface. You hold it for a moment against the inside of your wrist, the way one might hold a sleeping bird, with a quiet, careful tenderness. And then you fold your hand around it, and you turn, and you step back across the worn threshold into the square. The light has changed, just slightly, in your absence. The morning has risen a little higher, and the cobbles are warmer now, and the mist has gone almost entirely from the air. A few small clouds drift overhead, no longer pale rose, but a soft, milky white. The fountain still murmurs its patient music in the center of the square. The cat is still on her sill, though her eyes are closed now, and her tail is wrapped a little more loosely around her paws. You do not return to the fountain. Instead, you let your steps carry you toward a small side street that opens between two of the leaning houses to your left. The street is so narrow that you could almost touch both walls at once if you stretched out your arms, and it curves away from the square with a soft, inviting bend, as though it knows something gentle and would like, in its own quiet way, to show you. You follow it. The cobbles here are smaller, rounder, packed more closely together, and they ring very softly beneath your slow steps. The walls on either side are washed in the same pale, faded colors as the houses on the square. A chalky cream, a dusty rose, a soft and weathered blue. But they are closer now, more intimate, and the morning light slants down between them in a long, narrow ribbon overhead. Cool air pools in the shaded places. Warm air gathers where the sun has found a patch of wall. You walk slowly. You eat, very slowly, the warm roll. You tear it gently with your fingers, in small, soft pieces, and each piece releases another small breath of warmth into the cool morning air. The crust is thin and crisp, and gives way easily to the tender white crumb within. There is butter in it. There is salt in it. There is something that tastes faintly like honey, and something else that tastes faintly like the slow patience of a fire that has burned all night. You eat without thinking. You eat the way one eats in a dream, where the food is endless and the body is grateful. and nothing is hurried. The side street opens, on your right, into a small alcove of window boxes. You stop, without meaning to, and you look. They line the wall above your head, 3 of them, 4, perhaps 5, set beneath the shuttered windows of an upper floor, and they spill over with the gentle abundance of late summer flowers. Lavender, in deep and dusty purple, leans out in long, fragrant wands. Geraniums in soft coral and warm pink crowd against each other in cheerful disorder. A pale rosemary plant drapes itself down one wall, its small blue blossoms not yet open for the day. A trailing vine, you do not know its name, drifts down in a long green curtain almost to your shoulder, and its leaves are heart-shaped, and they tremble gently in the air your passing has stirred. You breathe in the lavender. You breathe in the warm green of the rosemary. You breathe in the faint, sweet earth of the window boxes, and the cool stone of the wall, and the lingering crumb of the roll still warm in your fingers, and the morning, the whole morning, with its slow and patient unfolding. Somewhere above you, very softly, a shutter taps once against its frame. You look up. You see only the closed shutters, painted a faded sea blue, and the small wooden flower boxes spilling their color, and a single bumblebee drifting from one lavender wand to the next, in the unhurried way of bumblebees in the slow hour after sunrise. The shutter does not tap again. The street is quiet. The bumblebee hums very softly, a low and steady note that seems to belong to the deep heart of the morning itself. You stand a little longer. You finish the last small piece of the roll. You fold the waxed paper neatly, and you tuck it into your pocket, because it does not seem right to leave it behind in such a kind and quiet place. Your fingers smell faintly of butter and warm crust. You hold them for a moment near your face, and you breathe that too into yourself. And you smile, or something in you smiles, the way it smiled earlier at the cat and at the small pale apple in the orchard grass. You walk on. The side street curves again, more gently this time, and the walls lean inward just slightly, the way the walls of the lane leaned inward earlier, gathering you in. There is no one here. Or rather, there is no one you can see, only the suggestion of life behind the shutters, the small clink of a cup being set down in a kitchen somewhere above, the faint, distant voice of someone humming a tune you almost recognize and cannot quite name. The hum is not loud. It is not meant for you. It is only a small, private music, drifting out into the morning the way wood smoke drifts from a chimney, without intention, without aim, with only its own soft and faithful presence. You let the humming pass. You let the morning carry you. The side street narrows once more, and then widens, and then opens very gently into a quieter place. A small, sun-warmed wall, and a stretch of cool shadow, and a path that drifts onward between low gardens and leaning trees, into the soft and unhurried heart of the village. You go on walking. The roll is warm still inside you. The morning is wide and slow and kind. There is nowhere you must be. There is only the next soft turning of the path, and the next quiet breath, and the gentle, faithful unfolding of a village that has all the time in the world to show you what it is. You breathe in, you breathe out. The path carries you gently on. The path leaves the side street so gently you do not quite notice the leaving. One moment, the walls are still close on either side of you, leaning their pale and patient colors over your shoulders. And the next moment, the walls have eased away, and the cobbles beneath your feet have softened into a worn dirt track. And the sky overhead has opened into a wide, slow blue. You blink, and you breathe, and you understand that you are no longer in the village. You are at its quiet edge, where the houses thin and the gardens spill outward, and the land begins, very kindly, to remember that it is land. The track descends. It is the gentlest of slopes, hardly a slope at all, and the earth beneath your feet is cool and soft, packed by years of slow footsteps. Long grasses lean inward from either side, brushing softly against your knees as you pass. The grass is tall and pale gold, gone to seed in the unhurried way of late summer grasses, and each stem holds a small, soft tuft at its top that bends and sways when the air moves through it. The whole field seems to breathe with a single long breath, in and out, in and out. And you walk through it as you might walk through a slow, quiet song. You hear the river before you see it. It is not loud. It is the softest of sounds, a low, continuous murmur, almost like the fountain in the square, only deeper, broader, with more patience in it. The sound seems to come from beneath the world, rather than from any particular place in it. You walk toward it without quickening your step, and the air around you grows cooler by small degrees, and the smell of the grasses softens into something greener, something wetter, something like wet stone and watercress, and the deep, cool breath of shaded earth. The path bends, and then, very simply, the river is there. It is broader than you expected, and slower, and a deep, dim green that holds the sky in it, without quite reflecting it. The water moves with the steady, unhurried purpose of something that has been moving in this same direction for a very long time, and intends to keep moving in it forever. There are no waves. There are only the smallest of ripples, small dimples of light where the current catches against a half-submerged stone, small, slow swirls where the water folds itself around the long, drifting hair of weeds beneath the surface. The whole river breathes the way the grass breathed, only deeper, only slower, only with a hush so old it seems to belong to the bones of the earth. You stop at the riverbank. The grass is shorter here, cropped soft by whatever gentle animals come down to drink, and the bank itself slopes gently into the water in a low curve of pale brown earth and tender moss. A few small white stones sit at the water's edge, smooth as eggs, polished by years of patient current. You stand at the top of the bank, and you look out across the river, and you let your eyes rest on the slow green water until your breath finds the same long rhythm as the flow. A willow leans over the river to your left. It is old and large, and its trunk is gnarled in the soft, kindly way of old willows, and its long, slender branches drift down and down and down until their tips trail in the water itself. The leaves are pale green on one side, silver on the other. And where the breeze moves through them, the whole tree shimmers. A slow shimmer, like a curtain of soft coins. You can hear the leaves now, a sound so quiet you almost have to listen for it. A sound like the slow shuffle of paper, the slow whisper of cloth, the slow turning of pages in a book no one is reading aloud. The willow's branches dip into the water. Each tip makes the smallest of ripples, a small ring that spreads outward, and is carried away by the slow current before it can finish itself. You watch the rings appear and disappear, and appear again, and the watching settles you so deeply that you find, after a while, that you have forgotten what you were thinking about, and that you do not mind, and that you do not need to remember. You begin to walk along the bank. The path here is narrow and worn, just wide enough for one slow walker, and it follows the curve of the river beneath the long arch of the leaning willows. You walk in dappled shade. The sun moves across your face and shoulders in soft, slow patches, and where it touches you, you feel its gentle warmth, and where the shade returns, you feel its tender coolness, and the two together weave themselves across your skin in a quiet rhythm that asks for nothing. The midday light is at its softest now. It is high but not harsh. It is filtered through layer upon layer of willow leaves, and so it arrives at the ground already gentled, already broken into small bright shapes that drift and shift across the path as the leaves move overhead. You walk through these shapes the way one walks through a slow rain of light. They settle on your hands. They settle on the grass at your feet. They settle on the river beside you, where they break into 1,000 pale gold flecks that drift away with the current and are gone. A dragonfly hovers just above the water. You stop to watch it. It is long-bodied and impossibly slender. Its body a deep, glossy blue that catches the sunlight and holds it for a moment before letting it go. Its wings are almost invisible, only a faint blur of motion, a small, soft haze around its body. It hovers above the water with a stillness so complete, it seems to be a part of the river itself. And then, very suddenly and very softly, it darts a few inches to the left and stops and hovers again and waits and darts again. You watch it for a long, quiet while. It does not seem to be hunting anything. It does not seem to be going anywhere. It seems only to be doing what dragonflies do on slow, warm afternoons, which is to be exactly where it is, exactly when it is, with a kind of perfect, untroubled attention. You think, without quite forming the thought, that you would like to learn from it. And then the thought drifts away too, the way the small gold flecks of light drift away on the current, and you go on walking. The path curves with the river. To your right, beyond the bank, the land opens into a low meadow, soft with the late summer grasses you walked through earlier. And beyond the meadow, the land rises again into the same gentle, sleeping hills you saw at sunrise from the lane. The hills look different now in the high, soft light. They are deeper green, with long patches of pale gold where the grasses have ripened, and small dark seams where the hedgerows mark the slow shapes of old fields. A few cows graze somewhere on a far slope, so distant they are no larger than small white pebbles, and you cannot quite tell if they are moving or only standing in their slow, contented stillness. You walk on. The path crosses a small wooden footbridge over a stream that feeds the river. The bridge is no more than 4 planks wide, weathered to a soft silver gray, and its handrail is a single rough beam worn smooth in the middle by many quiet hands. You step onto it slowly. The planks make a soft, hollow sound beneath your feet, a low and friendly talk that seems to belong to old wooden bridges everywhere. You stop in the middle. You rest your hands on the rail. You look down at the stream below. The stream is shallow and clear. You can see every smooth stone of its bed, every dark green frond of waterweed, every small pale shadow where a tiny fish hangs in the slow current. The stones are pebble bright, pale gold and dove gray, and the soft white of old bone, and the water moves over them with a soft, glassy ripple, the kind of ripple that seems less like motion and more like the breath of the stream itself. A leaf drifts past, a small green oval, and you watch it travel beneath the bridge and emerge on the other side, and turn once in the current, and continue on its slow way toward the river. You cross the bridge. The path resumes on the other side, a little softer now, more grass than earth, and the willows give way for a stretch to taller trees, alders perhaps, and a single old beech with a wide, smooth gray trunk and a canopy of leaves so densely green they make a small, cool room of the air beneath them. You walk into that small room. The light dims to a deep, leafy green gold. The river hushes beside you. The whole world becomes, for a moment, the inside of a single quiet leaf. You walk slowly through it. A pair of small brown birds flits between the branches overhead, low and quick and silent, and you see them only for an instant before they are gone. You hear, very faintly, the small, distant call of another bird somewhere across the river. A soft, fluting note that rises and falls and rises, and is answered far away by a second voice you cannot quite place. Then the calls stop, and the great green hush returns, and the only sound is the river beside you, and the slow shuffle of leaves above you, and your own slow breathing. The path leaves the trees. You emerge into open light again, and the river widens here, broadening into a slow, deep pool where the current almost forgets itself for a little while. A wooden rowboat is tied to a half-sunken post at the water's edge. You stop. The boat is small and very old. Its paint, which must once have been a deep blue, has faded to a pale, dusty gray blue, the color of the inside of a winter cloud. The wood beneath the paint shows in soft, worn patches, and the seams have been patched here and there with tar gone black and shining in the sun. The boat sits low in the water, but it does not sit poorly. It sits the way an old animal lies down to rest, with the quiet confidence of something that has done its work for many years and is now content to drift, gently tethered, in the slow green water. The rope that holds it is thick and dark and beaded with small drops of water. Inside the boat, there is a single wooden oar resting along the floor, its handle worn pale and smooth. There is a folded cloth in the bow, perhaps a fisherman's jacket, perhaps only a cloth that has been there for so long no one quite remembers who left it. A single yellow leaf has drifted down into the boat from a tree somewhere upriver, and it lies at the bottom, gently rocking with the small, slow motion of the water. You stand on the bank and you look at the boat. You do not need to step into it. You do not need to untie it. You do not need to row anywhere, or be anywhere, or do anything at all. The boat is enough as it is. The boat is enough simply by being here, gently tethered, gently rocking, holding its small space of stillness within the slow movement of the river. You imagine, just for a soft moment, what it would feel like to lie down inside it, on the folded cloth, beneath the open sky, with the water rocking you very slowly from side to side. You imagine the small, patient slap of the current against the wooden side. You imagine the warmth of the sun on your closed eyelids. You imagine the long, slow drift of clouds overhead. The imagining is restful. You let it stay with you for a little while, and then you let it go. The way you let go of the apple in the orchard grass, and the small petal that fell behind you in the lane, and the warm crumb of bread that you ate without hurry on the side street. You walk on. The path follows the river around the curve of the deep pool, and the boat drifts gently behind you, and you do not look back. There is no need. The boat is where it should be. The river is where it should be. You are where you should be, walking slowly in the soft mid-afternoon light, beneath the long arches of the willows, beside the slow, deep, patient water. A dragonfly, perhaps the same one, perhaps another, drifts past you and is gone. A leaf turns slowly on the surface of the river and is carried away. A small breeze moves across your face, cool from the water, warm from the sun, the two breaths braided together into a single soft caress. You breathe in, you breathe out. The river moves on beside you, slow and patient and unhurried, carrying nothing in particular toward nowhere in particular, with all the kind, untroubled time in the world. You go on walking. The day is wide. The light is soft. There is nothing to hurry toward and nothing to leave behind. And somewhere ahead of you, the path bends again, gently, into the next quiet hour of this long, slow, kind afternoon. You breathe in, you breathe out. The path carries you gently on. The path leaves the river so softly you do not feel it leaving. The willows thin, one by one, and the long murmur of the water falls slowly behind you, growing quieter with each step, until it becomes only the faintest of hushes, a memory of sound rather than sound itself. You walk a little farther, and then a little farther still, and after a while you realize that you can no longer hear the river at all, only the soft tread of your own feet on the grassy track and the slow, contented hum of the warm afternoon air. The path rises gently between two low stone walls. These walls are older than the walls of the lane you walked at sunrise, and softer, more crumbled at their tops, hung with thick green cushions of moss and small ferns that have rooted themselves between the stones. The walls are not tall, they reach only to your hip, and beyond them, on either side, you can see the slow patchwork of the village's edges, a small orchard, a leaning wooden shed, a chicken run quiet beneath the midday sun, a hedge of rosemary gone leggy and silver with years. You walk slowly between the walls, and then, where the path bends, you see the garden. You do not enter it all at once. The garden reveals itself in pieces, the way kindly places sometimes do. a glimpse of pale blossoms above the wall, the sweet, drowsy scent of warm earth and crushed leaves, the soft murmur of bees somewhere inside, working their patient afternoon. You slow your steps. You let the garden become real to you a little at a time, the way you let the village become real this morning, the way you let the river become real beneath its willows. A wooden gate stands open in the wall ahead. It is a small gate, no taller than your shoulder, painted long ago in a soft sage green that is weathered to the color of old, gentle leaves. The wood is silvered where the paint has worn away, and the iron latch hangs loose, the way a latch hangs when many hands have lifted it over many seasons. And it has come to understand that it is no longer needed as a lock, but only as a quiet companion to the gate. You stop at the gate. You do not step through immediately. You only stand there for a moment, with one hand resting lightly on the warm green wood, and you look in. The garden is small. It is small in the way that the bakery was small, and the side street was small, and the boat tied at the riverbank was small. Small not because it is lacking, but because it has gathered itself exactly to the size it needs to be. It is a walled garden, perhaps the width of a modest room and twice as long, enclosed on 3 sides by the same low stone, and on the 4th side by the back of a cottage whose pale shutters are closed for the warm hours of the afternoon. The garden is quiet. The garden is full. You step gently through the gate. The path inside the garden is narrow and made of small, pale stones set into the earth, with patches of soft moss and creeping thyme spilling across them, so that walking on the path is not quite like walking on a path at all, but more like walking on a small, fragrant carpet that has been laid down many years ago and has gone on growing ever since. Where your foot brushes the thyme, a faint, warm scent rises, peppery, sun-warmed, deeply familiar though you cannot quite say from where, and the scent drifts upward and folds itself into the wider scent of the garden. You stand at the edge of it and you look. The garden grows in cheerful, unhurried abundance. There are rows, but the rows do not insist on themselves. There are paths, but the paths wander. A bed of dark green lettuces unfolds along one wall, their leaves crinkled and tender, beaded here and there with the last small drops of someone's morning watering. Beside them, a tangle of bean vines climbs a small wooden teepee, the beans hanging in long, soft green curtains, and the leaves trembling whenever a bee drifts by. Tomato plants lean drowsily against their stakes, heavy with red and orange fruit, the smell of their leaves bright and green and faintly bitter, the kind of smell that seems to belong to the deep center of summer itself. Further in, a low hedge of lavender runs along the path. The lavender is in late bloom, its long, fragrant wands gone slightly silver at the tips, and the bees have found it. There are many of them, working slowly from flower to flower, their soft, fat bodies dipping and rising in the patient rhythm of a craft they have been practicing since long before this garden was planted. Their hum is low and steady and warm, a sound that seems less like noise and more like the breathing of the garden itself. You stand and listen for a while. The humming settles something deep in your chest, the way the murmur of the fountain settled it earlier, the way the breath of the river settled it. You walk slowly along the path. You pass a small bed of herbs, a dome of soft, round basil, a bristly clump of rosemary, the silver-gray leaves of sage, dusty and slightly furred, a low, spreading mat of oregano with its tiny white flowers, and at the corner, a single bay tree, its dark, glossy leaves cool and waxy in the warm air. You pass your hand very gently just above the herbs as you walk, and each one releases its small, warm breath into the afternoon. The green sharpness of basil, the dry pine warmth of rosemary, the soft and slightly bitter perfume of sage. You do not pick anything. You only pass your hand, and the herbs offer their fragrances, and the fragrances drift away with the bees, and you walk on. You pass a row of sunflowers. They are tall, taller than you, and they lean slightly forward, their great gold faces tilted toward the sun in a kind of slow, patient adoration. Their stems are thick and fuzzy and pale green. Their leaves are large and rough to the touch, the size of small books, and they cast soft, moving shadows across the path. The seed heads at the center of each flower are dark and intricate, a slow spiral of small, dark seeds packed in their ancient, perfect order. And a few small finches are perched among them now, working at the seeds with the soft, busy contentment of birds who have found a good and faithful place. They do not mind you. You do not mind them. You walk past with the soft acknowledgement of beings who have agreed, without ever speaking, to share an afternoon. The garden widens then into a small open space, and in the small open space, beneath the broad arms of a pear tree, a wooden bench is waiting. You see it, and you understand at once that you have arrived at the place the garden has been gently leading you toward. The bench is old. The bench is plain. The bench is made of 2 thick planks of weathered gray-brown wood, set on 4 sturdy legs, with a back of 3 simpler boards behind it. It has been sat upon by many people over many years. The wood is worn smooth in the middle, where bodies have settled, slightly hollowed in the way the threshold of the bakery was hollowed, polished by long, slow companionship. You walk to the bench. You stand before it for a moment, the way you stood before the rowboat at the river, simply taking it in, its quiet patience, its small, soft welcome, and then you sit. The wood is warm beneath you. It is warm with the slow warmth of an afternoon that has been gathering itself all day, and as you settle onto it, the warmth rises gently into your back, and into your legs, and into the soft hollows behind your knees. You feel your body release a small breath you did not know it had been holding. Your shoulders ease downward by an inch you did not know they had been raised. The bench accepts you. The garden accepts you. The whole slow afternoon folds itself gently around your sitting. You look up. The pear tree spreads above you in a wide, generous canopy. Its leaves are dark green and faintly silvered on their undersides, and the late summer pears hang here and there among them, small and golden, and not yet quite ripe, their skins flushed with a faint pink blush on the side where the sun has touched them longest. A few have fallen, and they lie in the grass beneath the tree, small, soft mounds beginning their slow return to the earth, sweet-scented and gentle, drawing the attention of a single contemplative wasp who hovers and lands and hovers again with the patient seriousness of a creature about its proper work. You watch the wasp for a moment, and then you let your eyes drift, slowly, around the garden from this new place of sitting. You see the garden differently now. From the bench, the rows seem less like rows and more like a great soft tapestry of greens and golds and gentle purples, woven together by the slow, drowsy passage of bees. The lavender along the path is a low, hazy line of dusty mauve. The sunflowers stand tall and gold against the far stone wall. The bean vines tremble. The tomatoes lean. The herbs in their soft corner breathe their warm scents into the air. The light is high and soft and golden, filtered through pear leaves above you, and where it touches the garden, it seems less like light and more like a kind of slow, attentive blessing. A small bird lands on the wall opposite. It is a sparrow, or something like a sparrow, plump and brown and modest, and it cocks its head at the garden, and then at you, and then at the garden again, with the small, bright interest of birds who are not afraid. You do not move. The bird hops once along the wall, considers a beetle, decides against it, and flies off to a hidden corner among the bean vines. The bean leaves rustle softly. The bird is gone. The garden continues without it. The garden continues with it. The two things are the same. You let your hands rest, palms open, on your thighs. Your fingers are still faintly fragrant with the herbs you passed your hand above earlier. There is a small, soft thread of basil there, and beneath it, a deeper, drier note of rosemary. And beneath that, fainter still, the warm sweetness of the morning's bread. You breathe in. The scent rises. You breathe out. The bees go on humming, somewhere beyond the lavender. The pear tree goes on holding its canopy of slow gold light above you. The wall goes on holding its small cushions of moss and fern. Nothing in the garden is hurrying toward anything. Nothing in the garden is leaving anything behind. Time begins to thin. It thins the way warm honey thins in the sun, slowly, with no resistance, with a kind of soft and willing surrender. You cannot quite tell, after a while, how long you have been sitting. The shadows have shifted, perhaps, beneath the pear tree, or perhaps they have only seemed to shift, or perhaps the shifting belongs not to the shadows, but to your own quiet drifting. The bees hum. The bird returns to the wall, then leaves again. The wasp settles onto a fallen pear and forgets, for a small, soft while, that it ever intended to do anything else. You forget, in much the same way, that you ever intended to do anything else either. Your hands rest. Your breathing slows. A faint breeze moves through the garden, and the pear leaves shuffle softly above you, and a few small petals, perhaps from a late, forgotten rose growing somewhere along the back wall, drift down through the warm gold air and settle on the grass at your feet. You look at them for a moment. They are pale, almost white at their centers, blushed a soft rose at their curling edges. They are small. They are very still. They are exactly where they are meant to be. You close your eyes for a little while. You do not sleep. Or perhaps you sleep, only just, only a little. Only in the way that sometimes happens when a body becomes very warm and very still and very held by a kind place. The bees hum on. The leaves shuffle on. The slow, sweet smell of the herbs and the warm wood of the bench and the fallen pears in the grass weave themselves together into a single soft fragrance that surrounds you like a quilt. You feel, somewhere very deep in yourself, a small and steady gladness. You do not name it. You do not need to. It is there the way the garden is there, the way the bench is there, the way the slow gold afternoon is there, without insisting, without explaining, only quietly present, only quietly true. After a while, you open your eyes again. The garden is exactly as it was. The garden is exactly as it always is. The sunflowers stand tall against the wall. The bean vines tremble. The lavender hums. The pear tree spreads its canopy of soft gold light above you. The wasp has gone. The bird has come and gone and come again, somewhere in the leaves you did not see. The fallen petals are still at your feet. You do not rise yet. There is no hurry. The bench is warm. The afternoon is wide. The day is folding itself, very slowly, into its softer hours. And you can feel the folding now, somewhere in the quality of the light, somewhere in the deeper gold along the tops of the stone walls, somewhere in the slightly cooler breath of the breeze when it moves through the pear leaves. You sit a little longer. You breathe in the warm garden. You breathe out into the warm garden. The bees hum. The light softens. The afternoon is wide and slow and kind. There is nowhere you must be. There is nothing you must do. There is only the bench and the pear tree and the garden breathing all around you, with all the gentle, untroubled time in the world. You breathe in, you breathe out. The garden holds you gently on. You rise from the bench at last. You rise slowly, the way one rises from a deep, warm bath, with a kind of gentle reluctance that is not really reluctance at all, but only the body's quiet acknowledgement of comfort. The wood of the bench releases you softly. The warm hollow your sitting has made in the air closes behind you without complaint. You stand for a moment beneath the pear tree, with your hands still loose at your sides and the fallen petals still at your feet, and you turn, very slowly, to look once more at the small, kind garden. The light has changed. You did not see it change. It changed the way kind things often change, without announcement, without ceremony, in small, soft increments while your eyes were closed and your breathing was slow. But it is changed all the same. The high, clear gold of the afternoon has softened into something deeper, something warmer, something with the faintest hint of rose folded gently into its center. The shadows beneath the pear tree are longer now. The tops of the stone walls glow as though they have been gently dusted with honey. The sunflowers along the far wall stand in deeper relief against their stone, their gold faces turned now, not straight upward, but tilted slightly westward, the way faces sometimes tilt toward a voice they love. You whisper a small thank you to the garden. You do not say it aloud. You only let the thought rise quietly within you, and the garden receives it the way warm earth receives a small drop of water, without surprise, without comment, with only its faithful, steady presence. The bees hum on. A pear creaks softly on its stem above you. The garden is exactly as it was. The garden is exactly as it always is. You walk back down the small, pale path of stones and moss. The thyme releases its warm, peppery breath beneath your feet again, and you pass once more between the rows, the lavender, the beans, the lettuces, the herbs, and each one in its turn offers a small, soft scent into the cooling air. The light leans more deeply gold across them all. A single late butterfly drifts past the bean vines, pale yellow, almost translucent, and you watch it go with the slow attention of someone watching a thought drift across a quiet pond. You reach the gate. You lift the loose iron latch. You step through. You set the latch back into its small, worn place with a kindness that surprises you. the way one tucks a sleeping child's blanket more snugly about their shoulders. The gate clicks softly behind you. The garden is closed again, and yet not closed. It is only resting, only continuing on without you, only carrying its quiet abundance into the evening, as it has done a great many times before. The path between the low stone walls receives you. The walls are warmer now beneath the lower sun. The moss along their tops glows a deeper, mellower green. A few small flowers between the stones, the same forget-me-nots and wild chamomile you noticed at sunrise, though they may not be the same, may only be their cousins, may only be their long, quiet descendants, have opened more fully now in the kinder light. You walk between them slowly. You feel the soft, cool earth beneath your feet, and the warm stone air at your shoulders, and the deepening hush of the long, slow day folding itself toward its close. The village rises gently around you as you return, not as it did this morning, with its small and modest waking, but with a softer, drowsier settling. The cobbles, when you reach them again, are warm beneath your feet, having held the sun all afternoon, and they release their warmth slowly into the cooler evening air, so that walking on them is a little like walking on the gentle back of a great resting animal. The houses lean inward over the streets in the same kind way they did this morning, but their faces look different now. The plaster glows more deeply rose, more deeply ochre, more deeply cream, the way faces glow at the end of a long, kind day, when the light has caught all the small, soft details of them and made them lovelier than they could ever have known they were. You walk through a narrow lane you did not see this morning. It curves between two leaning houses, and a small open window above you frames a copper pot on a kitchen sill. And somewhere inside that kitchen, a soup is being stirred with the slow patience of someone who has stirred this same soup at this same hour for many years. You cannot see them. You can only hear, very faintly, the small, soft scrape of a wooden spoon against the inside of a pot. And beneath that, the gentlest of bubbling, the kind of bubbling that has been turned down to the lowest possible flame and asked to keep itself company through the quiet hours of evening. The smell drifts down to you. It is the smell of slow onions, and of butter, and of a bay leaf softening somewhere deep inside, and beneath that, the slow, patient breath of a broth that has been gently simmering for most of the afternoon. The smell is the kind of smell that does not so much enter the nose as enter the chest, settling into the spaces behind the heart, the way the smell of the bakery settled there earlier, the way the smell of the warm herbs in the garden settled there. You breathe it in, you breathe it out. The smell drifts on with you down the lane. You pass an old man on a wooden chair set out by his doorway. He is sitting in the last patch of sun that has found his street, with a soft brown cap on his head and a brown wool jacket buttoned only at the bottom. His hands rest on his knees, palms down, in the comfortable manner of hands that have done a great deal of work and now intend to do a little less. His eyes are half closed. His face is turned slightly upward toward the light. He is not asleep, but he is not entirely awake either. He is in that gentle middle place that old men sometimes inhabit at the end of long, kind days. You nod to him as you pass. He does not see you. Or perhaps he does. Or perhaps he sees you with some quieter part of himself that does not need to acknowledge anything to know that something gentle has just walked by. You pass. You walk on. A few cobbled streets further, the lane opens onto a small courtyard you did not see this morning. And in the courtyard, a single chestnut tree spreads its great old arms above a stone basin where rainwater has gathered. The tree's leaves are still green, but they have a tiredness at their edges, the soft, yellow tiredness of leaves that know summer is beginning, very gently, to think about leaving. A few leaves have fallen, and they lie on the cobbles in soft, scattered shapes, and a small gray cat, perhaps the cousin of the cat from the morning, perhaps her sister, perhaps only her quiet equivalent in another part of the village, sits beneath the tree, slowly washing one paw with the unhurried thoroughness of cats at the end of long, kind afternoons. You stand at the edge of the courtyard for a small while. You watch the cat. You watch the chestnut leaves. You watch the slow gold rose light moving down the side of the courtyard wall in soft inch by soft inch, the way a curtain might be slowly drawn by a careful, invisible hand. The cat finishes one paw. She begins the other. The light continues its kind descent. The chestnut tree breathes, somewhere very deep in itself. You walk on. The streets begin to grow quieter. You did not think they could grow quieter than they were this morning, but they do. The hush of evening has its own particular weight, different from the hush of dawn. The dawn hush is the hush of a thing about to begin. The evening hush is the hush of a thing about to be put gently to bed. You feel the difference in your own body. Your steps are slower. Your breath is deeper. Your shoulders have settled into a place they did not occupy this morning. The village seems to be settling too, in the same slow way, as though the stones themselves are loosening, easing into their evening shapes, preparing to hold the night gently between them. You pass the church. It rises ahead of you in the warm last light, the pale gray stone of its tower softened to a deep, rosy gold by the lowering sun. The weather vane on its peak catches the last clear ray of the day and shines, for a brief and modest moment, as though it has remembered the morning shining you saw when you first looked down at the village from the rise in the lane. You stop in the small square before the church. The square is paved in old, uneven stones, and a single stone bench sits along one side of it, weathered and patient, with a soft cushion of moss along its lower edge. You do not sit. You only stand. You let your eyes follow the lines of the church upward, slowly, from the worn stone of its threshold to the dark wooden door studded with old iron, to the small round window above the door, to the lichen-spotted stones of the wall, to the tower, to the small dark slot of the bell. The bell does not ring, but you have the soft feeling that if it did ring now, it would ring very gently, the way one rings a small bell beside a sleeping child, only enough to mark the hour and not enough to wake anyone. You can almost hear it. You can almost feel the deep, slow note of it spreading outward across the rooftops, settling into the cobbles, settling into the soft earth of the gardens, settling into the slow, green water of the river you walked beside this afternoon. You imagine the note for a moment, and then you let the imagining go, and the silence rises again around you, and the church stands in its kind solidity, and you walk on. The lamps are beginning to glow. You notice them first in one window, a small, soft amber flicker behind a curtain on a second floor, where someone has just lit a candle or turned the wick of a small oil lamp. And then, a few windows further along, another, and then another. They come on one by one, in no particular pattern, as though each house is remembering, in its own slow time, that the evening has arrived, and that a little soft light would be a kindness to it. You walk slowly down a wider street, watching the lamps. The lamps are not bright. They are the deep, gentle gold of small, contained flames, seen through glass and through curtain, through lace, through linen, through the soft fold of an old cotton drape, and each lamp casts its own small pool of warmth into the cool blue-rose air of the evening street. The cobbles beneath each lit window glow a little. The air around each window glows a little. The whole street begins, in this way, to be quietly punctuated by small, warm constellations of human light. You feel something tender lift in your chest at the sight of them. You cannot quite say what it is. It is not happiness exactly, though it is something like happiness. It is not memory exactly, though it is something like memory. It is the particular tenderness one feels at the sight of small lights coming on in other people's windows on a soft evening. The tenderness of knowing that other lives are quietly continuing on beside your own, each one with its own warm, small center, each one tending its own small flame against the long blue dusk. You walk on. A door opens somewhere ahead of you, and a slim figure steps out for a moment, perhaps to call a child in, perhaps only to take a breath of the cooler air, and a brief, richer pool of golden light spills out into the street, and the smell of supper drifts out with it. Warm bread again, and the bay leaf soup, and the faintest sweetness of stewed fruit somewhere underneath. And then the door closes, and the pool of light folds neatly back inside, and the street resumes its softer, dimmer glow. The sky deepens overhead. The pale rose at the horizon thickens slowly into a deeper coral, and the high sky above turns from a soft, pale blue into a deeper violet blue, the kind of blue that wants to keep holding the day a little while longer before letting it go. A single first star, you do not know its name, pricks itself into the eastern sky, faint at first, then a little brighter, settling into the soft blue like a small, patient witness. You look up at it. You look up for a long, quiet moment. The star looks back, or perhaps it does not. The looking is enough either way. You walk on. You pass a courtyard where a small grandmother is taking in her laundry from a line strung between two pear trees. The laundry is pale. Sheets, perhaps, and a white nightgown, and a few simple shirts, and they catch the last warm light in their folds as she draws them down, one by one, slowly, the way one folds the wings of a sleeping bird. She does not see you. She is humming. The tune is one you almost know, almost the same tune you heard this morning down the side street near the bakery. Almost, but not quite, the way evenings echo mornings without ever quite repeating them. You walk past, and the humming goes on behind you, and the white sheets come down into the soft basket at her feet, one by one, in their patient, kind order. A cooler air moves through the village. It comes from the river, perhaps, or from the open fields beyond the gardens, or from somewhere higher still, from the soft, sleeping hills you saw at sunrise, which are folding themselves now into deeper, gentler shapes against the deepening sky. The air carries the smell of grass cooling, the smell of stone settling, the smell of a far hearth somewhere starting a small evening fire to take the chill from a kitchen. It moves around your shoulders the way a shawl moves around the shoulders of someone walking home, soft and loose and kind. And you feel it find the small, warm place at the back of your neck and rest there for a moment, gently. You pull no shawl around yourself, because no shawl is needed. The cool is not a cold. The cool is a kindness. The cool is the village telling you, in its own slow way, that the evening has come, and that the evening is good, and that everything in the village has begun to lean, very gently, toward rest. You walk on. The streets are nearly empty now. The lamps continue to glow, one by one, gathering themselves quietly along the lanes. Somewhere, a small fiddle plays a soft, slow tune for the space of a few breaths and then stops, as though the player has only wanted to remember the tune to themselves before laying the instrument down. Somewhere else, a child laughs once, very gently, and is hushed by a low voice that does not sound stern, only fond. Somewhere, a window closes. Somewhere, a shutter folds. Somewhere, a candle is set into its small dish for the night. You round a final corner. And there, ahead of you, a narrow lane runs softly downward between two leaning houses, and at the end of that lane, a small wooden door stands gently open in the wall of a quiet stone cottage, and a single warm lamp burns just inside, throwing its soft gold light out onto the threshold. You stop for a moment. You understand, without thinking, that this is the place. You understand it the way one understands the shape of one's own pillow in the dark, the way one understands the sound of one's own breath at the close of a long day. The cottage is small. The door is open. The lamp is lit. The night is wide and blue above the rooftops, and the first stars are gathering in their soft, slow way, and the village is folding itself in for sleep, and you are folding gently with it. You walk down the lane. Your steps are slow. The cobbles are warm. The air is kind. The lamp at the threshold draws closer with each soft footfall, and its small gold light grows around you, and a faint warmth from inside the cottage reaches out into the cooler evening air to meet you, gently, like a hand offered without a word. You step toward it. You breathe in. You breathe out. The night is rising, and the cottage is waiting, and the lamp is burning soft and low, and there is nowhere you must be that is not, already, very nearly here. You walk gently on. You step gently across the threshold. The threshold is a slab of pale, worn stone, hollowed softly in the middle the way the bakery's threshold was hollowed this morning, the way the gate of the garden was settled into its place this afternoon. Your foot finds the small, smooth dip without effort. The stone is cool beneath your sole, a kind, settled cool, the kind of cool that has been holding the day's quiet hours without complaint. You cross it slowly. The doorway accepts you the way the gate accepted you, without questions, without ceremony, only with its own faithful, unhurried welcome. The cottage is small. It is one quiet room, low-ceilinged, with dark wooden beams crossing softly overhead, and walls of pale plaster washed in the same cream as the bakery's walls, settled now into the deep honey gold of lamplight. The floor is dark wood, polished by years of slow feet, with a soft round rug at its center woven in faded blues and creams, and the faintest, oldest rose. The rug feels gentle beneath your feet. You stand on it for a small moment, simply being in the warm, small room. A single lamp burns on a low wooden table beside the bed. It is an old oil lamp with a glass chimney the color of pale, clear honey, and inside the chimney, a small, patient flame moves with the soft breathing of a thing that knows it has all night to keep its quiet work. The flame is low. It does not flicker. It only sways, very slightly, as though listening to itself. The light it casts is warm and round and small, and it does not reach the corners of the room. The corners stay in their soft, kind shadow, undisturbed, the way the deep places in a forest stay undisturbed beneath their canopies. You look around the room without hurry. There is the table with its lamp. There is a low wooden chair beside the table, with a folded woolen blanket draped over its back, dove gray and gently worn. There is a small wash basin on a stand in the corner, with a white pitcher beside it, and a folded linen cloth, and a small bar of soap that smells faintly of lavender even from where you are standing. There is a single small window, set deep into the thick stone wall, with its wooden shutter standing half open to the dark blue garden beyond. And there, taking up most of the room, is the bed. You see it last, because the room has been showing you, in its kind, small way, all the gentle preparations first. The lamp, the chair, the basin, the window. The bed is the soft heart of the room. The bed is the patient destination of the whole long, quiet day. And now, at last, you turn your eyes fully toward it. It is a low wooden bed with a simple carved headboard against the wall, and the wood is the same warm honey color as the counter in the bakery and the wood of the gate in the garden. The bed has been turned down for you. The quilt has been folded back, just so, in a soft triangle along the right edge, so that the deeper underlinens show beneath. The pillow has been set in its place at the head of the bed and is plumped gently, the way pillows are plumped by someone who has plumped this same pillow many, many evenings. You walk slowly toward it. You stop at its side. You stand for a long, quiet moment, just looking at the quilt. The quilt is old and beautiful and unassuming. It is made of many small, soft squares of cloth, each one a different gentle color: faded blue, soft cream, the palest sage green, the dustiest dusty rose, a deeper indigo here, a quiet ochre there. And the squares have been stitched together by hand, long ago, in small, careful stitches that you can see if you look closely. Some of the squares are slightly worn at their centers. Some have been mended, with tiny patches in matching colors set neatly over their small, soft holes. The quilt is the work of many hours, of many evenings, of many quiet hands. It has kept many sleepers warm before you. It is ready to keep you warm now. You let your hand rest lightly on the folded edge of it. The cloth is cool and soft, and faintly cool the way old, well-loved cloth is cool. Not cold, only restful, only patient, only ready. Beneath your fingertips, you can feel the small, careful ridges of the stitches, and beneath the stitches, the gentle thickness of the wool batting inside, and beneath that, the deeper, settled weight of a quilt that has done its work for a great many seasons and intends to go on doing it for a great many seasons more. You turn then toward the window. The window is small and deeply set, and the wooden shutter on its outer side stands half open into the night. You walk to it slowly. You rest your hands on the cool stone of the sill. You lean forward, just a little, and you look out into the dark blue garden beyond. The garden is small, like the cottage, smaller even. Perhaps it is only a deep, narrow strip of soft earth and old stone, enclosed by another of the gentle, low walls that hold all the gardens of this village in their quiet keeping. You cannot see it fully in the dark. You can see only the suggestion of it, the soft black shapes of a few low bushes, the paler gray ribbon of a small stone path, the long arm of a pear tree leaning over the wall from somewhere beyond, and above it all, the deep blue-violet sky settled now into its full evening, with the slow, patient lamps of the first stars scattered across it in their soft, uncounted order. A breath of cooler air drifts in through the window. It moves across your face like a small, kind hand. It carries the scent of the night garden, the cool, wet smell of stone settling into evening, the faint green breath of leaves resting after their long day in the sun, a thread of jasmine from somewhere along the wall, soft and white-petaled and patient. The air is not cold. The air is only cool enough to remind you that you are warm, that the room is warm, that the small flame in the lamp is warm, that the quilt waiting on the bed is warmer still. You stand at the window for a little while. You look up at the stars. There are more of them now than there were when you turned the last corner into the lane. They have come on quietly while you were stepping inside, the way the lamps in the village windows came on quietly while you were walking, each one settling into its small place in the slow blue dark. A few are bright, most are faint. They do not press themselves on the night, they only rest there in their patient way, the way the willow leaf rested in the basin of the fountain this morning, the way the fallen petals rested at your feet beneath the pear tree this afternoon. You watch the stars for a long, quiet moment. You do not count them. You do not name them. You only let them be there, with you, in this small, kind, lamplit room, and you let yourself be there with them, and the looking is enough. The looking is its own small evening prayer that asks for nothing and gives everything. Somewhere in the village, far away, a door closes softly. Somewhere else, a small fiddle plays a single low note and then is quiet. Somewhere a child has been carried, perhaps, half asleep, up a narrow staircase. Somewhere a candle is being blown out. Somewhere a soft voice is saying, "Bonsoir, ma petite, dors bien?" And the words drift up into the night with the kind, small warmth of words said this same way for a great many years. You breathe in the cool night air. You breathe out the warm, small breath of the room. The two breaths meet at the window and become one breath, the breath of a night that is folding itself gently around you and the village and the whole soft blue-violet world. After a while, you reach for the shutter. You do not close it all the way. You only draw it inward a little, so that the cool air still finds the small gap, so that the stars can still be seen through the narrow opening if you should wake in the night and want to find them. The shutter moves on its old iron hinge with a soft, small creak that does not disturb anything, that only acknowledges the closing the way the bakery sign acknowledged the morning. You leave it where it is. You leave it the way one leaves a door barely ajar to a sleeping child's room. Open enough, closed enough, exactly enough. You turn back to the bed. The lamp is still burning, low and steady, on the small table beside it. The quilt is still folded in its soft, welcoming triangle. The pillow is still gently plumped. Everything in the room has waited for you in its kind, patient way. And now you are here, and now it is time. You move slowly. You sit on the edge of the bed first. The mattress gives gently beneath you, the way the wooden bench gave gently beneath you in the garden, the way the warm cobbles gave gently beneath you in the evening lanes. You sit for a small moment. You let your hands rest on your knees. You let your shoulders, which had risen only a little during the cool walk from the cottage door, settle now fully back into themselves. You unlace your shoes, slowly. You set them neatly, side by side at the foot of the bed, where they will wait for the morning in their faithful small way. Your feet are bare against the warmth of the wooden floor, and then against the softer warmth of the round woven rug. And you feel the rug's small ridges and the floor's deeper smoothness. And you understand, in the deep, quiet way of bodies, that you have arrived. You lift the edge of the quilt. The cloth is cool to your hands, soft to your hands, gentle in its old, patient way. You draw it back a little further. You ease yourself down onto the bed. The pillow receives the back of your head with a kindness that surprises you, the way the bench in the garden received your sitting, the way the warm stone of the fountain received your hand at the start of this long, kind day. You let your head settle into it. You let your shoulders settle into the softer linen beneath you. You feel the mattress hold you, the way the rowboat at the riverbank would have held you if you had stepped down into it, with the slow, patient confidence of a thing that has been holding sleepers safely for a great many evenings. You draw the quilt up over yourself. The small, careful weight of it settles across your chest, across your shoulders, across your arms, like the weight of a many-handed kindness laid down upon you very slowly. The wool inside the quilt is light, but it is warm, and the warmth spreads across you in soft, slow circles. You feel it in your shoulders first, then in your chest, then in the soft places behind your knees, where you felt the bench's warmth earlier in the garden. Then in your hands, which rest, palms down, gently atop the quilt. You lie still. The room is quiet. The lamp is still burning, low and patient, on the small table beside the bed. The cool air from the half-open shutter drifts gently across your forehead from time to time. And each time it does, you feel your eyelids settle a little further toward closed, the way the geraniums in the window boxes settled, very gently, as their evening deepened. You think, dimly, of the day, not in pieces, not in stories, only in a slow, soft passing of warm colors and quiet sounds. The pale mist of the lane at sunrise, the cool stone of the fountain in the square, the warm yellow window of the bakery, and the small, soft weight of the roll in your hand. The dappled willows and the slow green river, and the dragonfly hovering in its perfect, untroubled attention. The small, kind garden, and the warm wooden bench, and the bees humming in the lavender. The soft gold lamps coming on, one by one, in the windows of the deepening lanes. The images drift through you like leaves drifting on the slow surface of the river. They do not insist on themselves. They do not try to remain. They only pass gently, one by one, each one warmer and softer than the last, each one a little fainter, a little farther, a little more like the memory of a dream than like a dream itself. The lane, the square, the bakery, the side street, the river, the garden, the lamps, the window, the quilt, the quiet. You feel the small, kind room hold you. You feel the warm quilt hold you. You feel the village beyond the walls hold you, with all its small lit windows and its sleeping cobblestones, and its patient stone walls, and its dark blue garden full of soft white stars. You feel the whole long, kind day hold you. The lamp burns on for a little while longer, gentle and gold beside the bed. Your breath grows slower. Your breath grows deeper. The cool air from the window drifts softly across your forehead, and the warm quilt rests softly across your shoulders. And the two softnesses meet somewhere in the middle of you, and they fold themselves into a single slow rhythm with the long, slow rhythm of your breathing. The flame in the lamp leans very slightly. It is so small now. It is so quiet now. It has done its kind work of welcoming you. of lighting the small honey gold room while you found your way into the bed, while you settled into the soft weight of the quilt, while you let the day drift, leaf by leaf, away from you on the slow current of the river. The flame leans further, the flame eases, the flame, very softly, goes out. The room sinks gently into the kind dark of the night garden beyond the window, into the deeper blue-violet of the wide, quiet sky, into the soft, scattered patience of the small, uncounted stars. There is no lamp. There is only the cool, the warm, the slow. There is only the breath, in, out, in, out. Slow and easy and unhurried. There is only the village around you, breathing in its own slow way, with all its small windows now dimmed, and its small, soft fires now banked low, and all its sleepers now folded gently into their own quilts in their own quiet rooms. There is only the cottage holding you. There is only the bed holding you. There is only the quilt holding you. There is only the night. There is only the breath. There is only the slow, soft drift, gentle as a willow leaf turning once in a still basin, of a long, kind day folding fully and finely into sleep. You breathe in, you breathe out. The village breathes with you, and the night breathes with you, and the whole slow, soft, kind world breathes with you. And somewhere, very far away, a small fountain murmurs on into the dark, and a long green river moves on into the dark, and a small kind garden goes on holding its patient sleeping beds into the dark. And you, here, in this warm small room beneath this warm small quilt, in this cottage at the end of this lane, in this village beneath this wide, quiet sky, you, here, are held, are warm, are safe, are tired, are kindly, are gently, are softly, are slowly, are deeply, are nearly, are nearly, are nearly asleep. You breathe in, you breathe out. The night carries you gently on.